My full name is Joseph Peter King. I was born June 20th, 1929. I was born in Port Arthur, Ontario, now Thunder Bay. We lived in Pace Flat Indian Reserve until I was about 6 years old. Then we moved to Rossport. My grandparents were both born in Canada, but location I don't know where they were. I got married December 2nd, 1961, I think. And my spouse was Eleanor Mary Lois Faith. We met through mutual friends in Ottawa. We have two children, a son Scott Cameron, he is 51, and a daughter Deborah Lynn, 43 years. Yes, I have two grandchildren, Benjamin Joseph, age 23, and Jeffrey Allen, age 19. My occupation was a forestry technician with the Ministry of Natural Resources. I volunteered as a Cub Scout leader in Chapel, and minor hockey in Geraldton, Chapel, Espanola, and also minor league baseball in Chapel and Espanola. Favorite memories of growing up. Actually, 1st of July was quite an occasion for us kids back then. We, it was a day really set up for kids. 95% of the activities were races and bicycle decorating and long jumping and all the calisthenic type of thing. The men were the only activity they had was a tug of war with Schreiber, yearly, which they always won, of course. But other than that, it was mainly a play day for everybody, and all the activities stopped. Like, it was a commercial fishing town back then, and there wasn't a boat that went out or anything. The whole town was involved in this day, and I sort of remember that one quite vividly. I also remember the icebreaker coming into town, into the harbour, breaking ice in the spring. The James Whalen from Thunder Bay, they'd come in and just the sound and the noise and the sight of the boat coming in and breaking that ice was a real thrill for the kids. But we were generally, when he came in, it was our luck that we're in school, and we couldn't do much. We had to sort of look out the window at the boat coming in. But that was another fun time. Picnic at Greenstone Beach, yeah, that was a daily, again, total town shut down. And a couple of tubs were cleaned up and spruced up, and took all the parents and kids out to this Greenstone Beach. Was the west end of Wilson Island. And there we picked these green stones, and kids would be running around exploring, looking for driftwood and anything we could find. And have the picnic lunch and head home. It was actually a full day on the lake. No, not a special day. It was a Sunday when more or less the fishermen would stop working. But usually Monday to Saturday they were gone. They were otherwise occupied. But generally it was a Sunday. After the church was that was one of the main things was church. We had to attend church. Oh yeah, that was a winter deal where we had nothing but an outdoor rink, natural ice, and located right beside the CPR tracks, which it was the surface was full of soot most of the time, and really good on the blades, the skates, the blades, and so on. But we were, and the kids are involved. It was men that had to do the work, but we helped with putting up the boards and packing the snow for the base of the ice, and then helping with the flooding. And they would then paint the lines after we got a good sheet of ice on. They'd paint or mark and paint the lines, set up the goals, and then we're ready to go. But we had to keep the fires going, and we had a rink shack there, so they could drain the hoses and dry them. And that was the main activity during the winter time was the hockey rink. After chores were done, that was the main thing. We couldn't. They wouldn't allow us. We had to carry our wood and get the wood in the house and split and the rest of it, and carry water for the house. We didn't have any running water, so we had to go down to the lake with a couple of pails and dip the lake, and a couple of 3 or 4 trips to get the quantity of water we needed for the day, and then we could go and play hockey. Fun as a child. Simple things really. Small town. We're sort of I guess a camaraderie with our own age group, and I was thinking of our age, 14 years before we left for high school or anything like. We'd play simple games, tag and hide and seek and this sort of thing in the summer months, and swimming, fishing local lakes, and even in Lake Superior. What we did during, of course, winter times is hockey. That was it, hockey. If we weren't playing hockey, we were practicing, and just to get out on the ice. Again, we could not do any of this stuff until the chores were done. If it was Sunday, of course, then it's church, and that was an absolute must. There's we couldn't dodge that one at all. And the highlight of the summer was accompanying my parents to our fishing grounds at Lake Petsia Creek, down east of Schreiber, between Schreiber and Terrace. And we'd spend the summer down there practically, and just come in periodically to bring fish, and it's sort of a daily trip, and get the fish to market. Other than that, it was a real thrill for us kids to just ride on the boat and help get in the way of my father trying to work the nets and so on. But, a lot of fun. No, in that particular case, in those days, there was every fisherman was allotted a piece of ground, a piece of the lake, and they had to stay within that territory, and so that was just our family, and the next family would have another piece of ground somewhere else, and so yeah, it was just a straight family thing. Technology is I think come to the point where kids are now no longer able to think for themselves really. Because of their dependence on computers and all these other pieces of equipment that they use for iPhones and iPads and whatever. But they can't seem to think for themselves or communicate with people anymore. At least a lot of them. There's a lot of kids that can, but other than that, I think technology is good in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways it's not. Kids are too dependent on this sort of thing. Society, not expected to depend on bank loans and or credit cards and this sort of thing. And people they sort of have to live within their means, and if you can't pay for it, and right today it's wants sort of takes precedence over needs, and other than that, that's probably the difference, and that I know. Yeah, dinner times were a family thing in when we were kids, whereas where everybody gathered usually at the elders of people, the elder people, the grandparents or parents, and have a meal, like a cooked meal, sit on dinner, and then afterwards discuss what happened during the past week, and current events and so on. But this is the sort of thing that they used to do, and of course church was always in there. That was number one, always. we just didn't do anything before we attended our church. So playtime was a little different than when we were kids. Like we did played with stuff that homemade. Usually my father would make some little boat or something and tie a string onto it and a little pole, and away we'd go, and all kinds of fun. We'd have to play with that for days. And whereas the kids today, they have to have bought toys out of the store, and usually expensive. But that's what I'm saying. Society, I don't know. We used to depend a lot on our own. Like we used to make, in fact, a lot of our own toys, or slingshots and stuff like that. And we'd make these things and actually use them quite a bit. And kids today, they get these toys, but I don't think they made use of them as much as we used to. Hobbies. You know, my hobbies didn't start really until I retired. Actually, before retirement, I was sort of busy bringing up family and doing the family things. But the hobbies right now, since retirement, I have a lot of woodworking I used to do, and particularly like scroll sawing. And I always just took a lot of satisfaction in making, like creating fairly intricate pieces of wood, which I have a couple of examples here to show you. And again, that took up a lot of my time. And besides, I sold a few pieces, so it was, you know, financially rewarding as well. Gardening right now is what I do, and I, again, just self-satisfaction. I just like gardening and veggie gardening. I don't do the flowers thing. Strictly, if you can't eat it, I don't want to grow it. There's a lot of stories that I don't remember that many when I was a little kid, because every day was a story. When you wake up, just something new is going to happen, and so I didn't pay much attention to it until I got older. I just remember things like my father and brother going out on Lake Superior on their fishing, and they used to make trips to a Superior show, which is pretty well in the middle of the lake. On one trip they went out there and broke the propeller shaft on the boat, and I don't know whether it was going out to the show or coming back, but anyhow they were well out there. So I really don't know the particulars, but they managed to use a piece of pipe they had on board, and they fashioned a propeller out of a can or something, and just managed to and got that hooked up, and back, and I don't know how many hours or days they took to get their boat back into the Slate Island lighthouse. And they knew Ed Buskey was the lightkeeper in Slates at the time, and they or it could have even been could have even been Jack Bryson. I think it was Jack Bryson, and that's where they landed anyway. But it was a fairly close call, and but they weren't really expected to do anything with this. They just tried. Like my brother often told me, he said, I didn't know how he did this. It was just a piece of tin, the thing that he hammered on, pounded, and got it shaped in the rough shape of a propeller, and it got him home. Myself, I had an episode myself, and it must have been 7, 8, 9 years ago, and I had that. I went out to by myself on my boat, and I was going out to do a little fishing on that Morn Point, which is St. Ignace Island, and on the way out there, I started to feel a little kind of not well at all, and I just got my line out, just putting my line out, and I decided I better get out of here, and I brought the line in and headed for Rossport, but the wind was such that I didn't want to take a chance of going through this channel they call it Chummy's Channel there. It was a sort of that's how I was feeling. I was sort of dizzy and sick, and I didn't know whether I'd bang onto a rock or what. So I stayed on the east side of Salter Island and headed out, and I didn't get halfway down Salter Island. That's the last I remember. I knew enough that I felt that I was going to go eventually. So I got down in the bottom of the boat, and you know, outboard. I was sitting on top, and I didn't want to fall overboard, so I just went right down into the bottom. I didn't remember anything until I woke up, and I was in. Well, I didn't know where I was, but I woke up. I was close to shore, and I looked at this island, and I said, "Well, I didn't do too bad. I think I'm in around Healy Island. That's just right here, out just south of us here." And but I sort of woke up then and glanced around a bit, and I thought that I knew this was Healy, so I'm here. I'm in business. And then the next thing I saw was a train coming around the bend. I said, "Well, there's no trains on Healy Island," so I then started to follow the mainland eastward, and I saw the Pace Flat Indian Reserve, well, and I knew where I was. But that's where I drifted from Salters into that shore, and it was a good thing. It was offshore wind. That you know, instead of a north wind, I'd have been somewhere in Michigan. Finally, got myself into Rossport, and friends down at where I landed, they saw me, and they saw that I wasn't in very good shape, so they got me home here and we went then directly to the hospital or to the doctor, and he arranged immediately to get me to Thunder Bay, and that was where I had a start of heart arrhythmia, and I guess that was from there it progressed. The cardiologist tested and found that I had blockages and so on. So I ended up in Hamilton in open heart surgery. So that was a bit of an experience and sort of a close call too. And I had that, and I put they also implanted a pacemaker that I had just for this arrhythmia, to straighten that out. So right at the moment, I'm feeling just great. We enjoy Rossport. It's, in fact, this is where I grew up as a kid, and I left for Thunder Bay for high school and further. Actually, since I was 15, I was pretty well gone from Rossport. We just moved back here in '90. So we've been in what, 20 some years. But if we like what I remember at Rossport, I enjoyed, and I guess that's if I didn't back then, I wouldn't be back here today. So we enjoyed it. In fact, we love the island more than mainland. We really enjoy the island, and it's been it's a fairly close community here. It's but we're isolated. We're not a part of the mainland, and but we have good roads, and everything's taken care of us as far as road maintenance and well, fire. We have a fire department and so on. So you know, it's just been nice. We lived in various parts of the province when I was working. We moved every 5 years, I think. And I started at Pace Flat here, the forestry branch just west of the reserve. And I moved from there to Geraldton. And from there I moved to Long Lac, and back to Geraldton. And we were married then, we just got married then. And then I moved to McDermott as a chief ranger. And spent 5 years there, and moved to Chapel, chief ranger there. And then there's a big reorganization in the ministry, and in '73, and I ended up in Espanola. And I spent about 5 years there, and and then we went to Sudbury, and that's where I retired in 1986. But and then we retired, spent couple of years there. I did some driving instructing, and hired by the ministry to do a little firefighting, and for a year, and then then I broke ties completely and moved out to Rossport. And that's so that's been 20, 22, 23, 24 years ago. But no, it's been great. We're having a little issues right now, like we're of the age that medical, and we have to have access to medical care and doctors and so on, and it's a little uncomfortable sometimes being out here, because we have been stranded with snowstorms and different things. But all in all, we still enjoy it. We're going to stay here until somebody says till we drop.